UK Thrashers radio show. In this episode we're interviewing Inhuman Nature, but before that, here's Star Maker by Reprisal. was Reprisal, taken from their 2018 album None Survive the Sun. Okay, next up is a band we had on a couple of weeks ago. This is Incinerary, taken from their new album Hollow Earth Theory. This is Falling Into the Sky. Killer track from Incinerary there. If you haven't checked out the album, get onto Spotify, wherever you get your music from, and go and check that out. Okay, next up is our interview for this week. This is Inhuman Nature. Okay, this week in the virtual studio, we welcome Inhuman Nature. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Do you want to introduce yourself and kind of the missing members of the band as well?
Yeah, sure. I'm Chris. I'm the singer in Inhuman Nature. I've also got Simon, our drummer, Ben and Mac on guitar, and Jack on bass. It's the classic five-piece.
So how long have you guys been together?
The band, it's kind of a weird story with the band. It's almost a little bit like Napalm Death, where there's not even any original members in it currently. I guess I'm the most original one. But I think we did our first release end of 2017. So from 2017 is when it's essentially been around. But this lineup has really just been the last year or so at the moment. But this is the solid lineup. This is the one we're sticking with.
So you kind of saying that, have you all been in other bands? You all kind of come from other places, or how did you end up forming?
Yeah, me and the drummer Simon were in a band called Hang the Bastard years ago, and then I left that while they carried on with a different singer for a while. Ben used to play in a thrash band called Vulgate quite a few years ago, but he got recommended to us. We were looking for a lead guitarist, and he got recommended through one of the other guys in Hang the Bastard, because he was friends with him, so from Hastings. Mac, who's our new guitarist, is one of Ben's best friends, and Jack I've just known for years, going to hardcore shows as well. But funnily, he was in the band before me, and then left because he didn't like the original drummer, and then came back when we got a new drummer.
So you're kind of Greater London based, is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, so kind of, I guess. So two of us are from London, like originally from West London. Got two guys down in Hastings and one guy in Luton.
So for people who kind of haven't heard you guys, what is the Inhuman Nature sound? Because I know you're probably on the hardcore end of thrash, for want of a better term. But is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, we're definitely in that the crossover camp. I mean, I guess the easiest way to describe it is it is fairly similar to Power Trip. I think if I needed to explain it like real easily. But it's a lot of influence, like old Sepultura, like I think old Slayer stuff is kind of obvious in what we do as well, like Sodom, stuff like that, like sort of New Album influence as well, like we're all massive Judas Priest fans, but love moshing as well. So it's kind of, you get that hardcore influence as well. Like I was in, I kind of got into this type of music, I guess, through being into hardcore and punk, and then being a part of that scene. Like Hang the Bastard was a riffy, Sabbathy type band, but with like integrity style stuff. So I was always into crossing over genres, and I guess that's come naturally with this band, I suppose. Yeah, definitely the moshy thrash side of things is our lane.
Do you think that that kind of crossover between hardcore and thrash it seems to be quite big again at the moment? It was a big thing back in the late 80s, your DRIs and your corrosion of conformities as they were back, that style of corrosion. But, in the last 5-10 years, it seems to have really picked up again, and crossover and being a bit more punk is a big thing again.
Yeah, like definitely. I mean, I guess, Power Trip was probably a massive part of that. Because they've obviously around for been going for 10 years or so and doing that type of stuff. But when they did Nightmare Logic, it really got everyone a bit more interested, I suppose, and it had a bit more of an eye on it, I guess. There's obviously a lot of bands doing that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, even I think last year when we put our album out, our album did pretty well. Then you had Lowest Creature did a sick crossover record, High Command, Enforcer, like so many bands. Like, it was almost like last year was the year for it. It's crazy.
So I was going to come on to, that was your first full-length album, wasn't it? It was kind of self-titled, full-length. And you kind of touched on there, it seemed to be really well received everywhere. It was splattered all over people's social channels and people tagging you in. Were you happy with the way it went?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I guess especially when you're doing your first release, you can never tell how it's going to go. I mean, it was just, we did it on a German hardcore label called Injustice, who liked the Taste of Steel single we did before that, before we'd written the album, and they wanted to do something. And they're like a DIY label, out sort of similar sized bands to us, but it seemed like it got loads of reach quite naturally. And like even today, like someone bought a CD from us, which I still find I'm like, damn, it came out early last year, people were still buying it. And someone that had only just heard it through someone sharing our page, like one of the guys in Road Mutant shared it on his other band's page, and then this other guy got into it. So it's awesome. Got to go on tour a couple of times last year and do it. Record sold out now as well. So yeah, it's great. It's really cool. Better than I expected anyway.
Yeah, you can't ask better than that, really, can you?
Yeah, exactly. It was cool. Really cool.
So do you think that's sometimes the hard thing? You know, you say people find it late, and you know you can still get people finding you now after you know, what is it? It was May last year, I think the album came out. Wasn't it? So do you think that's part of this kind of, you know, we all love social media, but hate it at the same time as well, because things kind of go sliding past your, you know, past your feed without you taking notice of it. Is it good where things like this work and the organicness of social helps, and you get that, you know, even if it is a bit late to the party, you get these kind of fans a little bit later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, I really like that it's had that organic, you know, more of an organic reach to people as well, and it's slowly you know, getting on people's radar as well. Because I think, you know, especially in hardcore, it happens a lot. Like a band will be so hyped for 6 months, and then that's kind of it. And it's sort of like a blessing and a curse. You know, you might be really, really massive for 1 minute and your record sells out and stuff like that, but then everyone's onto this new thing. So I feel happier that our record is sort of trickling through, and people are getting into it. And you know, and it feels like maybe we wrote a good record that is, even if you heard it a few years down the line, like you still like it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if like people kind of get put off by listening to older records sometimes. It's always like you want to get onto that new thing. And even after a year or so, people are still checking it out and really like it. It's cool. Don't know if that really answers your question.
No, I think it does, because I think you're right. I think, you know, a decent record will stand the test of time, but we're all probably guilty of, you know, every Friday seeing what bands are posting links to new Spotify tracks, and suddenly you've moved on. And you know, I was just starting to look back at my 2020 releases, trying to work out what my top 10 have been, and it's like, fuck, did that come out this year? You know, it's kind of it's just things have just come and gone so fast that you kind of miss them a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, and that's sort of you know, obviously, it's a long talked about thing, but the internet sort of provided that. It's provided a lot more choice, and sometimes that's for better or worse, you know. Like I said, you know, we did an album last year, but there was also like 3 or 4 other really like brilliant crossover records as well, you know. So it's kind of like you could hear ours, but then a month later there was like an even, you know, another cool record as well, you know. So it makes it harder, but it's great if you're a music fan as well. You know, like I think I was the same as you. I think if you asked me to name, I mean, luckily I made some notes prior to coming on here, so I know what records I would say if we talked about it. But yeah, if you had to ask me to put a top 10 together, I'd be like, damn, like, you know, I've bought so many records this year, which I've had to stop myself doing now leading up to Christmas. But I've bought probably too many that I have to go back to like remember it. And I'm like, oh, damn, this was awesome.
Are you a physical copy guy, or are you kind of downloaded?
I prefer to buy physical, like if I can. Obviously, you know, when there's a new release, I'd much rather get the physical, just to have it. Really, I collect like a lot of vinyl. Got started building up my tape collection again as well. But yeah, I tend to, like, if I know I can get on vinyl, then I'll hold out listening to it until I've got the actual record. Although I did earlier, I actually got around to putting on the new Hell Ripper record, and I'll probably buy that on Friday as my payday treat as well, which is awesome. But so I gave that a full listen. But I bought the new Parish record that Crypt of the Wizard put out. And that was all online, but I waited until I like got it and got home and gave it a good listen. But much to do that.
Sat on your hands from typing it in onto.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you
miss the quality as well, don't you? You know, kind of the difference between an MP3 and a CD quality or a vinyl quality. You know, especially if you've got a decent stereo, the difference in sound quality is quite dramatic at times.
Yeah, because I guess when I'm listening to someone on Spotify, it's normally while I'm working or like, you know, jogging or whatever. And you're not really giving it the full attention that a record needs, you know. So when you have the record, it's very much like you have to have the time and space to do it. Yeah, you know, I quite like it. I'm more of like a morning. I have some coffee, record goes on, then I do whatever else I got to do. You know, but it's more of a ritual rather than just having it kind of going by. You know? Yeah, more of an event. That's it. Yeah, exactly. It's more of an event to look forward to, you know. So back onto your own stuff. You know, you class yourself. You know, you said it a couple of times. There's probably, you know, hardcore
hardcore crossover band. What about lyrically? You know, hardcore tends to be historically has got a little bit more maybe a political edge to it, or you know, where do you sit in lyrically? Obviously, from a cover art point of view, you guys are, you know, a bit traditional heavy metal. You know, there's big you know, He-Man lookalikes and big swords and kind of battle scenes. Is that a bit of a balance between being hardcore and you know, that traditional metal kind of visualization?
Yeah, it's exactly it, really. It's just we just like to sit somewhere in the middle, I guess, like, because I mean, musically we all have sort of different tastes that kind of end up leaning onto the same stuff, I guess. Like, we all love the same sort of thrash bands and the same metal bands and the same hardcore bands, but then we branch out and like different things. But yeah, lyrically, there's definitely a lot of sort of political stuff going on. You know, like Nuclear Frost on the album is very much sort of about like the environment and how our governments aren't listening to scientists that predict pandemics, and then lo and behold, a year. Not that I predicted it.
You are Nostradamus.
But, you know, people have been telling them for a long time that it's going to happen, and they didn't listen. So that was sort of about that kind of thing, and you know. But then there are songs like Carnivorous Lunar Activities is just a pure, and Taste of Steel actually as well. It's just pure fantasy kind of stuff, you know. Sort of thinking, I get a lot of influence from bands like Merciful Fate, where it's more like storytelling. So I like to try and explore that. But then I think it depends on the song itself. You know, some songs need to be direct and say how things are, you know, and I guess that's the good thing about hardcore and what I've always liked about that. But then, you know, if it sounds more like a trad metal song, it should have some lyrics to suit it, I suppose. It just depends really. But yeah, artwork wise, I think when we started, we'd already, because our first ever demo, we got Andrei Buzikov to do the artwork for that. And it had, you know, we had this crazy story behind it about this like time traveling barbarian dude who goes to different worlds to like, you know, see sort stuff out. And then we carried that onto the album. So, and it was sort of inspired by like what Bolt Thrower were doing for a while with like the Warhammer style artwork. And I wanted to keep the theme. So I know what I'm doing for the next album. And then after that, I don't know, but I think, you know, the next album, you're going to see that theme again.
You've just about to do, you've got a split coming out, I think it's Friday, with Road Mutant. What about the artwork for that? Where did that come from?
We got a guy called Matt Sticker to do the artwork for that, who did the recent Witch Vomit records. What else did he do? He done some really awesome record covers, but it was the Witch Vomit covers. He did two of them. He did the last album, he did the EP before that. And yeah, just really good, really gory. So I got him involved, and he was like stoked to do it. He got it done really, really quick. We've been sitting on the artwork since like March this year, I think. Now, you know, had it there, like ready to unleash it. But it's really cool. And we kind of came up with ideas. So it's with a band called Road Mutant. And we're definitely sort of two bands, you know, obviously like we were talking about, we've kind of got that barbarian, you know, trad metal kind of artwork feel to us. And theirs is kind of similar. Like they have like a different sort of story with their band. It's more sort of like sort of like an apocalyptic.
Yeah, they're like Mad Max post-apocalyptical style.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So we had this idea to kind of merge that together. So you've kind of got these two different characters like representing both bands, and sort of just this like, you know, apocalyptic landscape as well. It's kind of based on Escape from New York, the John Carpenter film. I was looking up like old, like, you know how you get like a Japanese version of like a film release here, and or just different releases for posters. I was Googling like just like all the different variants of the poster for that movie, and I got ideas for like the landscape in it and things like that, and just sent it over to Matt, and it just nailed it. It's just like violent and gory. And I think it suits us well. Yeah,
cool, it looks really good
from the artwork. Yeah, I'm really stoked about it. It's cool.
So how did that match up? You know, the idea of doing a split together come about? Was it just to kind of keep you both ticking along between full releases, or, you know, did you guys tour together?
No, we haven't actually done a tour together. We've obviously played like a bunch of shows, but we've never managed to do like a full run of shows. We were meant to do some shows earlier this month, but we never bothered to announce them because obviously they weren't going to happen. But we were meant to do like London, Bristol, and Norwich together, and I think Hastings as well. But we've just been friends for a long time. I've known Tom, the guitarist, for years. He used to be in a band called This Is Colour, and like my old band Hang the Bastard played with them a bunch of times. So we just and our bands kind of came out at a similar time as well. So we've just sort of buddied up, really. It's kind of a similar vibe as well. And I think it was always on the cards that we'd always chatted about doing it, and we just got it together this year, really. I can't remember whether there was like a particular conversation. I think it's just always going to happen, like it's good. I always think splits the bear of it's, bands you're friends with, like rather than trying to do it with like a random band or something like that you don't know. So yeah, just really good guys, good bands. Their track's really sick as well. I really like it. They did like a session in London. They did 2 tracks and they put one of them up earlier this year. And then the one on the split is from like the same session that they did at, I think it's called Bear Bites Horse, the studio they went to do it. But yeah, sounds cool.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so for your own track that you put on there, Master of Souls, where did that one come from? Is that kind of one that didn't make the album, or a brand new song you wrote for this, or?
It's brand new. So we wrote it. So from last August, we had a new guitarist, a guy called Mac, came into the band. So we wrote it like the first track we wrote with him as well. I don't know. Benny might have had it from when we were writing the album, because he's one of those guys. He just shreds all day because he goes to uni to play guitar, then he goes home, plays guitar, and teaches it to people as well. I think he just records riffs all the time, and he just has this huge bank of riffs. It probably came from that. But it was new for this anyway. We wanted to get something new together, and that was it really. It's a little bit different than what the album tracks, I think. Like it's a little bit, well, it's longer because it's got a really long intro, which was sort of my doing. So it's kind of a bit different, but it's still got the same elements in it as well. Like obviously it's really fast. It's got some heavy mosh in it and stuff like that, so I think people will like it, but it's a slight different change in direction, I guess. Yeah,
it's got more of a, especially say with the intro, it's got quite an epic feel to it. It's a bit more, kind of it, rather than just launch straight in, it kind of, it brings you up in a little bit more gently before it rips your face off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because it was a one-off, like I wanted to treat it as that, like take the opportunity to actually mess around with different ideas as well. So obviously with the split artwork, I was saying, it's influenced by like John Carpenter movies, which one, the sort of like horror movies that I really, really love. And I love like the soundtracks. That's kind of like probably my favorite type of movie soundtrack, like the stuff that John Carpenter does, or Lucio Fulci, like in the sort of zombie movies that he does, that eerie like keyboard soundtrack. So it's like influenced by that really, and the lyrics were sort of influenced by that as well. And I wanted to sort of deviate from the, sword and sorcery stuff. It's got a little bit of that, but it's more influenced by sort of like, just sort of like those old 80s like slasher movies, like grainy, like kind of seedy, like like New York Ripper or Maniac, that sort of thing. So I wanted the keys and like the soundtrack, what's the word I'm looking for? It's got like a city soundtrack in the background. So it was kind of meant to conjure up this image of like this smoky, seedy, horrible city with the Master of Souls creeping around.
It definitely sounds like you guys, but I said it just feels like a little bit more, bit bigger, a bit of a bigger story, which is it's nice to see kind of continuing to develop and adjust your sound and kind of keep moving, I suppose, which keeps it interesting for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like we went back to Misha Herring, who recorded the album. He's recorded all of our stuff actually, so since the demo. So I think it's been this nice natural progression with him, where he's been with the band from when it was kind of three of the least non-musical people that created the band, and then it's moved on to this and how it's come. And he's sort of helping us. He's sort of been there with us to build the sound up, I suppose. So yeah, and I guess that's probably why it's been to that point. It's definitely, you know, I think like the tones and the solos are kind of like much more brighter, and it's a bit more of the kind of trad metal that we're really into and the sound we want to try and develop as well.
Is lyrics, is that all your responsibility, or do the other guys kind of throw in crazy ideas that you've got to try and go, what the fuck am I going to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much me. I write all the lyrics down, and then I just let the guys take care of the riffs and everything else like that. But we talk about like ideas for especially when you're thinking about a new album, trying to think about what ideas you want to cover, even if that's like ideas to the artwork, because I guess I always find it quite helpful to have an image in my mind of what the record cover is going to be. And sometimes that helps me with the ideas of what I'm going to sing about, especially more of like the fantasy sort of elements of it as well. You know, like obviously we've got this huge like Conan / He-Man kind of character, although I don't want to get sued by anyone. So no. He's not Conan or He-Man. He's just a guy that happens to look like that. But, I'm like, what's he up to on a day to day? You know what I mean? When he's not just sitting in a throne. Do you know what I mean? Like, try to think like, what would his story be? And like, you know, what sort of scenarios has he been in as well? I mean, I'm quite into like Michael Moorcock, like fantasy books as well. I'm not like an expert on any of that stuff by any means, but I like the stuff I've read, and it's trying to think about the sort of scenarios that they might get in as well, you know.
So is there a chance that you'll take that to the kind of the logical conclusion, which is a full-on concept album? Was there any kind of vision of doing which was probably quite unusual in kind of hardcore end of the spectrum, is that, you know, pulling together something that tells a story throughout, or is that nothing that floats your boat? I
mean, it kind of does float my boat, but I don't know if I'm the best writer for that album. Maybe one day I'll give it a go. You know, I don't know if it will go full King Diamond or anything like that. But I mean, there is the album that we're starting to write. So we went away recently and like holed up in a farm, kind of like a farm in Devon for a weekend. And we started writing the new records. We got almost half of something there. And I already know what the title of the album is, and there is a theme to it, but I don't know if it's going to sort of be like a story throughout. There's definitely a theme behind it. But yeah, why not? One day, you know, I have to try and I don't know if this is on your radar or not, or whether it's your sort of thing, but I know Eternal Champion just put out their new album, but it's on pre-order, and it comes with an actual book you can order a book that the singer wrote alongside it.
Oh, okay.
And it chronicles the record and the book like coincide with each other. Now that's
quite cool.
That's serious, you know.
I'm a bit lazy though, so unless it comes on audiobook, but I can manage a graphic novel if someone wants to bust out that'd be quite cool. You know, a 2000 AD style graphic novel with the songs that mix in. Yeah, I could see that working.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that, and I was like, I'm gonna kill myself trying to get all this stuff done. A lot of like getting like the artwork sorted and stuff like that. I sort of take it on as my responsibility. So I feel like if I took that on as well,
if you need a hardback graphic novel to go with it, you're gonna pull your hair out with stress.
It would be cool though. I did I really love like graphic novels. I mean, I go through periods where I'm like super into them, and then I'll, you know, like kind of most things, you deviate from it for a bit, and then something kind of gets your interest again. And I was like, maybe I could put some ideas together for something. You know, it would be cool. I think when bands do that sort of thing, you go that extra mile, and you have other aspects of your art out there. Like, it is really cool. So it's definitely the sort of ideas that we're talking about are already on my mind, you know.
So back to the new album, you say about halfway through. What's the plans? Have you got a kind of release date in mind?
No, nothing. Well, I don't think next year. I guess in my mind, I still think next year will be a total write-off for doing anything. Like, you know, I don't think anyone will be able to go on tour next year. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic about it, but I just don't see it happening. Like, I think we potentially have a tour booked for May, but I kind of doubt it will happen, really. So I think I want to put a record out when there is the chance of actually touring it as well. It's quite brave to put a record out. Like, a lot of bands are doing it at the moment, and obviously more and more people are still buying vinyl. But I think, you know, for us being like quite a high energy band, I think it needs to we need to have a record and a few tours to go behind it, you know. So I imagine 2022 will be the time.
So is that going to be a struggle to sit on it for that long? Do you kind of get to the point that, right, let's get this out, I want to go, or are you just kind of managing to stop the enthusiasm and just keep things ticking over at a small sense?
It's a bit of both, yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, when you've got a record like this split that's coming out on Friday has been ready for a really long time, and now it's like a couple of days away. It doesn't seems weird that it's come now. It's difficult, man. I think you need, you know, depends what you want to do with your band, I guess. But it's good to really plan ahead and plan a release properly, you know, rather than just banging it out there and hoping what happens. But it kind of depends, you know, if you're like a huge band and you can do that and everyone will still get into it, then great. But I guess if you're, you know, like a smaller band like us that wants to sort of go on tour and, you know, kind of build things up, then, you know, you have to plan it way in advance, you know. But I think, you know, like, I mean, I say we got half of something, but that's it's not halfway done by any means. Right. So, you know, there's a few things in the bag, like testing different ideas as well. Like there's some stuff that sounds like pretty different than what we've done already. So, you know, I don't know if that's going to carry on or not. So we're really just at the start of like writing something, really. But, you know, I think probably carry on doing what we're doing, like going away to record. Not record, like to write. That was really productive as well. Obviously, it's cool to hang out and get to know each other better and that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Are you know, that's something you kind of you like that being away from the distractions of you know, home life and all that sort of stuff was I say kind of a bit of a bonding experience and allowed the creativity to flow. Or
definitely
allow the beer to float out the creativity.
Yeah, undoubtedly did. It did flow quite a bit. I think the first day we were there, got started early on both the music and beers, and then the next day was almost a little bit of a write-off when we started. But it was cool. Yeah, I didn't, you know, other than the guy who owned the place, I didn't see another human being for 3 days, other than my band, obviously. Or 4 days or something, right in the middle of nowhere, just fields around you. You know, the place was really cool. It was like a nice spot to hang out. You know, it had really cool stuff. And yeah, you could use the studio, like you go in there anytime you wanted, like you just do what you want. So yeah, we never done that sort of thing. I've never even done that before. I was reading a Black Sabbath book recently, and I know when they went to do Bloody Sabbath, they went away to this like haunted castle to try and conjure up some ideas, and it worked for them. So I thought I'd give it a go, basically, and it was helpful. It was a good idea.
It's funny, isn't it? All these kind of traditional metal bands back in, you know, the 80s and that all went off around the world to record. I've just been listening to Rob Halford's autobiography, and cool. You know, he had like 2 seasons in Ibiza, and then they went off to I don't know, Jamaica, and it's like, where the fuck does that money all gone? Because I don't think there's many bands who can afford to go to places like that to record anymore.
Well, the thing, I guess back then there was so much money, like, you know, like you probably wouldn't even believe. You know, think about the sort of videos they used to do and the stage setups. Even like, you know, even when Iron Maiden were first a band, they had crazy like stage stuff as well. And it's like, man, if you tried to do that now, money would be crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, we sort of thought about going away, but, you know, just feels like you can do it in the UK. You may as well do it, you know. It was cool. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing to do. You know, if you've already got a lot of ideas and you don't, you know, you're not going to be able to get much done in like a 4-hour practice at studio, you know, where you've got to like, you've got to go, you can't like hang out and like, you know, obviously drinking beers is not necessarily everything, but drinking beers and smoking weed certainly does help get creative juices going. And you can't do that if you've got to drive home. Yeah. So it's like going away, you know, and even just things like cooking dinner together and stuff like that. It's like a weird thing that it's weird for us because it's something we never do.
Yeah. And I guess it puts you in a better place as a band that when you do go on the road, you kind of know each other's quirks. And, you know, if the bassist gets grumpy after something, you know, just give him half an hour and he'll chill out. Or, you know, he's kind of, you're just learning those. It's relationship building, isn't it? Which is a big part of being in a band.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, luckily, like we've gone on a few tours before with each other, and it's been pretty relaxed. Everyone's pretty chill as well. like the first time, I don't know, it's been all good. Benny snores really loudly, so we just kick him out into a different room, and that's kind of about it, really. Yeah, we're honestly pretty like chilled out on tour. There's never been, we crashed a couple of times on our first tour, or almost, well, we crashed once and then almost a few more deadly times because we had this dodgy van where the brakes weren't really working. But that was stressful. But other than that, it's been cool. We went to a water park on our first tour. That was nice. We just do like nice things like that.
Just break the travel up with a bit of a mad day out somewhere.
Yeah, man. Yeah, in Prague, we was like, the next day drive was only a couple of hours. So we were like, what can we do? We just like, I'll go to the water park. Summer. It was fine with that.
Brilliant.
Oh man, but yeah, everyone's super chill. No bust ups or anything like that at the moment.
Apart from yourselves, what's the London scene like at the moment? Do you feel like you're part of a much bigger scene within London itself and then the UK, or I don't
know. It's a good question, really. I don't know if I'd say we were sort of part, especially in London. We play when we were playing shows, it was always a mixture of, more metal shows and hardcore shows as well. So I guess we sort of dip in and out of different scenes, really, which obviously the beauty of being kind of like a crossover band, we can do that. You can, we'll cross over, I guess, and it works well. But I guess it's more of a UK wide scene. It's probably what I would say we're kind of part of. Like, we have lots of friends in different areas, on our last tour, we did take Dungeon with us, who are from London.
Yep.
Because that was really great as well. So I guess we've got that sort of connection. But we've done shows with Aggressive Perfector, who are from Manchester. Obviously, we're friends with Road Mutant, who are from like the East Coast. Got friends down in like Brighton. Lots of friends up in Scotland.
I see you guys are quite tight with the CST, and they've got a really good, just a really good kind of network up there, and they all seem to look after each other. And
yeah, it's awesome, man. Yeah, the CST scene up there is great, actually. Like, those guys in Kingpin are awesome. Guy called Ewan, what does he do? Shredinborough, that's his promotion company. He put us on with Aggressive Perfector up there. Late, when was it? October last year? End of last year, anyway. Went up there. Show was really cool. But when we played Glasgow, when the guys in Kingpin put us on and they played, that show was amazing as well. Really rammed. And they've just got a good thing going, and I think that's what, a lot of places should do with having that sort of actual community that I guess because they've made it a thing, like, it's called CST and they've got patches and stuff like that. It definitely helps that sort of vibe. Yeah. So, I don't know if you really have that in London unless I'm just like not clued into it. No. But then again, London is so big. There's like so much.
Exactly. You could probably fit like 6 CSTs into the Greater London area, which is I think it's quite difficult. I think Manchester a little bit better at that. The 0161 community are pretty good on that sort of score.
Yeah.
But
they're it's kind of similar, I guess, because they've got sort of Temple of Boom. Yeah. And obviously lots of bands go through there, and that's got its own sort of community as well. Obviously I think Bill from or Ryan is his real name, from Cryptic works there.
That's right, yeah.
As well. So you've got that sort of cool scene, but yes, but then again, scenes come and go, like, I remember years ago, like playing in Norwich, like where Road Mutant are from, shows would be packed, and then for years, like kind of dead, and now they're sort of help picking it up again as well. It's just difficult, man. But a lot of scenes could do with that, a bit of CST magic as well. They should write some sort of like handbook.
A guide to your scene, yeah. But, because obviously Norwich and that way, that was like Thrashosaurus and all that sort of stuff. So, a lot of the bands, in the last 8 to 10 years have all kind of done those circuits and things like that. Have you?
Yeah.
Is that, do you enjoy that kind of festival type thing? Have you done Metal to the Masses or anything like that? Have you ever?
No, nothing like that. To be honest, I knew about Thrashosaurus. I never played it before. So that's kind of the scene that I probably wouldn't have been aware of, because being involved in like hardcore and stuff like that. And when I wasn't doing a hardcore band, I did kind of more like sort of indie punk bands for a while as well. So I was doing kind of totally different stuff. But have we done any fests? We did like, we played Live Evil. That was really cool. Earlier this year, but we did the after party. So after Pagan Altar played, we played at the Dev, and that was when we did our live
That was your live cassette that came out a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was really awesome. So I love stuff like that. We played on our first tour. We did a hardcore fest called Return to Strength, and that was really good. That was great. When we were on second on a whole day, and like there's a video of it on YouTube, and it was really cool, man. It's like one of our first shows, really. Second show in the mainland. But no, we've not really done any sort of UK fests at the moment. But then again, when we got a new album coming out, hopefully people will invite us to come and play. We did play Metal Brew. You ever been along to Metal Brew?
Oh, what's that? Where's that one?
Where it is in like kind of North London. It's near Finchley.
Okay.
I think it's at Hendon Rugby Club, but it's a friend of our drummer. She puts it on every year. It's woman Sarah, and it's really cool, man. She's had like Diamond Head play it before. I think Venom Inc. played it. I'm trying to remember who played it when we did it. I can't remember. But yeah, it was cool. Like a small fest. Like has its own community as well. It's really good. But yeah, nothing like Metal to the Masses or anything like that. Yeah. But if people want to hit me up, I'm up for it. We're available.
Always available. You kind of see the difference. Can you tell from the crowd where you've got more of a hardcore crowd than a thrash crowd? Do you notice a lot more karate in the pit, obviously, but
yeah, the difference. I mean, and it sounds bad, but it's just when people dress, really. You can kind of spot someone if they're into hardcore or if they're into like thrash kind of a mile away, really. But yeah, I mean, at our shows, everyone's sort of pretty cohesive. Everyone gels together, man. It's cool, Although I would say, like, a lot of the time, sometimes you might go to a show and it's more of a metal crowd, and then some days it's more of a hardcore crowd. There's never been, like, sort of like a 50-50 split or anything like that as well. But the energy is always good, man. People into metal are not gonna spin kick or anything like that typically, but they're kind of a bit more up for being at the front and like fucking fists in the air and pints spilling everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then.
And I think people are a bit more aware of each other's scene now. I mean, I remember, going to a Suicidal Tendencies gig and, back in the late 80s, and the mix of people as a young thrasher suddenly seeing all these, punks wearing clogs and spinning round and fucking, it was like, it was completely mind blowing. It's like, what, but I think, we all, through YouTube, and I think everyone knows what to expect now. So it's not that big deal when, as I say, kids are spin kicking in the middle of the, pit. But
I think, you get all that, but I feel like sort of today, people are a lot more sort of respectful of each other's space anyway, because there's a lot of talk about that, and in a good way, obviously just respecting everyone else at the show, and there's not sort of that. I mean, there's a place for like that ignorant mosh stuff, and that you're very aware of the type of show you're going to. Like if you're going to go see a beatdown band, you know what you get. You know. But if you're going to see like a band like us, and people want to like kind of like mosh and like do those kind of hardcore moves and stuff, people generally a bit more respectful, I guess, as well. I've never had any like fights breaking out or anything like that. It's always pretty peaceful. You're very peaceful. Is what I wanted to get at earlier.
A bit of controlled aggression rather than getting in his face.
Yeah, exactly. I hate all that stuff. Like crowd killing. It's just like stupid, man.
Yeah.
And if I ever saw it, I would try to like contain and be like, it's not really cool.
Yeah.
At this sort of show, with our band, it's just about trying to provide a good time, really. It's like you were saying, it's kind of like controlled aggression, and letting loose. But gotta be respectful of everyone around you, man.
Yeah. I'd rather have been a hardcore crowd spinning kicking than stood behind that knob with his camera in the air ruining my view. So
that is true. Yeah. I mean, at least the guy spin kicking is going to move in a minute.
Yeah, exactly. You'd shove him in the right direction and he'll fuck off. But
yeah, exactly, man. I mean, there's nothing worse. Someone's like, if you're at a sort of show where it's a standing still show and someone's just filming, you're like, oh damn, man, like just watch it. I really try. Sometimes you want to take a photo, like I get it, but actually watch it, man.
I'm 6'2", so all I get is like some 5'2" girl stood in front of me with a camera in the air and like, will you fuck off?
yeah, man. I mean, I guess I'm about 6'2", 6'3" myself, but I'm always kind of like, I feel bad if it's a packed show. Like I feel bad for people behind me, so I'll try and like
stand by a pillar or
myself somewhere where I'm not blocking someone.
finally, kind of shout outs, any thanks, any kind of other people you haven't mentioned, if you want to, and a bit of a pimp of your new single. So where can people hear that on after Friday? Bandcamp links, social media, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be available everywhere that you can probably think of on Friday. Spotify, Bandcamp, all that sort of stuff. iTunes, Amazon, just wherever you want to play stuff. Tidal, maybe. I don't know, wherever people listen to stuff. YouTube. You can pick it up. So there's physical copies are going on pre-order, which you can get from us and Road Mutant. We have obviously our limited copies. What I would suggest you do is go, first of all, if you're in the UK, go to Nuclear Family Records, go to their big cartel and pre-order it from Josh. So our new friend Josh, he runs Nuclear Family, which I would probably put up as going to be one of the best hardcore labels in the UK very, very soon. If you're outside the UK, get it from Night Rhythms in the US. I think just Google Night Rhythms. I can't remember their website. You'll find it. Couple of the dudes that run that label are also in Expander, who just put out a new record, new good thrash, kind of a thrash record, kind of punk, kind of black metal. You should check that out. But pick up a US pre-order from them, and you can get a cassette version from us and Road Mutant. But there's a label called X7 Alpha X Records, who are based in Portland in America, and you can pick up a cassette from them as well. So go to the labels first, because they put up their own money to help two bands out. So yeah, go and check that out as well. And yeah, listen to it online everywhere.
Thanks for taking some time out this afternoon and filling an empty slot. It was great to catch up, and hopefully get to catch you guys live post the apocalypse. Chris, thanks for speaking to us.
Thanks, man.
Catch you soon.
All right, buddy. Take care, yeah?
Thanks, mate.
And that was Chris from Inhuman Nature. New single, Master of Souls, came out last Friday. You might still be lucky enough to pick a couple of copies up on first press of the final single, but if not, definitely get it downloaded. And here is that track. This is Master of Souls. Okay, that was Master of Souls by Human Nature. Don't forget to go and check out the other side of the split, Road Mutant and War March. Okay, next up, let's take it to some old school death metal. This is Ashen Crown, and this is Guilty of Hatred. And that's it. Thank you for joining us at episode 20 of the UK Thrashers radio show. Lots more coming. We know some of you are going back into lockdown, so we're going to hopefully keep you entertained during that period. There's another episode out Wednesday, which is something a little bit more unusual, but back to normal service next Friday.